Well, women's rights as human rights will come into focus over the next 2 weeks as at the UN's 59th session of the Commission on the Status of Women opens in New York later today. Well, to chat more on women empowerment, gender equality and protecting the rights and improving the lives of women and girls on the ground, we have in studio with us that's Phindile Dhlamini, MD of Gracefully Consulting. Good afternoon, Phindile, and thank you for your time on the PM News Desk.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Well, AU Commission Chairperson Dr. Dhlamini Zuma puts it very eloquently this morning when she spoke to the conference on the Women's Conference on in PE via video link, when she said women empowerment does equate or equals poverty alleviation. Now, the latest UN research indicates that a girl child, if educated, is more than 90% more likely to spend most of her income on the upliftment of a family and community compared to a boy child. So girl children, Phindile, are the real agents of change on the ground?
Well, I would beg to differ, and I would say we are all agents of change. I think, yes, focus on the girl child is important as we are most vulnerable as females on the ground in communities where we're dealing with issues from safety and security all the way to the vulnerability in terms of access to education. So focus on girl children is important, but I would beg to say that we need to focus on all children, the boy child as well as the girl child.
All right. Human rights are women's rights and women's rights are human rights. Hillary Clinton, one of the delegates, saying it's the great unfinished business of the 21st century. But how are we doing in South Africa as a nation when it comes to addressing the disparities that continue to marginalize women from participation in the economy?
I would say that we have improved. That's what statistics tell us.
Yes.
But in terms of actual people who are either in the corporate society or in communities, women in rural areas and townships, we see that the situation is very different. We have a report that was launched yesterday by one campaign that speaks about how poverty is sexist. And what that report does, it also calls for something called a revolution of information age, where we're calling for people to really start speaking out in terms of women so that their voices are heard, so that we can have more accurate data in terms of the needs on the ground of women and how far we are in terms of improving the rights and the implementation of all the legislation that is currently put into place.
All right. Half our cabinet are female. Our police chief is a female. There have been great strides in terms of visibility and representation. But where are we falling short? Is it still a matter of patriarchal attitudes that have to be changed? Because this battle, like you alluded to a little while ago, cannot be won without the support of our men and boys.
Most definitely, and I think that's where we fall short, because sometimes I feel that we don't take the plight of women seriously, and sometimes as women as well, we sit in our corners and we suffer in silence, and we really don't come up and speak out about the challenges that we really are facing in the boardrooms, in the communities and in the schools as well.
Let's internationalize this a little bit. We saw strong European solidarity in the aftermath of the Paris terror attack. I think it was 3.7 million people on the march in Paris. But in Africa, we have scores of women and children, Phindile, dying every day, succumbing to violence and acts of terror. Why the glaring absence of global and regional solidarity in Africa? How do we begin to shatter this long-suffering attitude that still perceives black African women's lives as less valuable than white European counterparts?
I would say we'd begin to shatter that once we come together as Africans to speak out. We are members of a coalition called Action 2015, where we really aim to come together as civil society and aim to give citizens a platform to come together so that our voices are heard in order to hold governments accountable for all the commitments that they make on the global scale.
And how do members of the public get more engaged with your new campaign? We are 15. I see the yellow badge you're wearing.
Yes. Members of the public can join the coalition by going to www.action2015.org, where you can sign up, and from there you start to get the newsletters and start to understand how you can become more involved in letting our voices be heard, so that together we can make more of an impact in making change come about in our continent and in our countries.
Phindile, we want this struggle for gender equality and empowerment to continue well after these next 2 critical weeks, ideally becoming a part of our daily lives as a society. How do we sustain or keep this momentum going?
We keep the momentum going by keeping the conversation going. We need to begin to support young girls and women to speak out and really not marginalize them and make them feel less than when we do stand up for our rights and speak up against what is wrong.
Thank you, Phindile. That was Phindile Dhlamini. She's the Managing Director of Gracefully Consulting. Thank you very much for your time on the PM News Desk.